Afternoon, everyone. Bill Rentschler in the 1011 Now streaming studio alongside Chase Madison. Chase, is this your first time in the studio?
Yeah, first time in the streaming studio, and excited to talk Huskers.
Yeah, it is officially football season now. Big Ten Media Days is done. There's no more. There are more press conferences, but the talking is basically done. It's time to start doing. And Nebraska held their first practice of fall camp today. Again, they're going to have about 4 weeks of work here. First game is a month from today, August 31st, in Minneapolis. And so, again, you'll hear a lot from us here over the next few weeks as we cover the Huskers and practice and things like that. Again, it was day one, but we did come away today with some news and notes. You were allowed in, as well as some of the other sports media, to watch the first 20 or 30 minutes of practice. I guess just gut reaction right away. What were your kind of takeaways from watching the team today?
Well, one thing that was interesting is that Rhule's doing kind of a split practice groups, and part of the reason he's doing that is to get some of the younger guys more reps. And so some of the freshmen are getting 20 or 30 reps compared to where they would maybe get 4 or 10. And so we actually saw a lot more of the veteran players that were practicing, and you just saw Anthony Grant there, actually, believe switching number to 23 from 10 last year. Jeff Sims, quarterback there. So we saw a lot more of the veteran guys, and that was because they're kind of doing different groups. But it was a competitive practice. We watched a little bit of just player individual drills, raining outside, but they were on the new grass.
Rhule said he really liked it. You can really tell big difference in just the way it feels. And he even mentioned, the way your body kind of reacts when you fall down, which, again, football players are doing a lot of.
Yeah, it is new grass, and it's been the water and the rain he's mentioned has probably been good for the grass. Obviously, not as good for the construction of the new facility. But
he did say, again, endearing himself to Nebraskans all over again, that it's better for the crops to have the rain than
He said he'd take that any day of the week.
Exactly.
But yeah, gut reaction from practice, just a lot of energy through all the players, and just different where you might not see as many players out there, but there's also less players standing around because he's doing this split group. So you talked about how there was 18 active linemen, 10 were in that first group, 8 were in that second group. So for some of the drills, some of those linemen are doing a lot more reps, but that's also good for cardio and good for getting into football shape.
Yeah, he said, especially for the freshmen, that sometimes, you go into fall camp and at a practice, if you're a freshman, you may only get 4 or 5 reps.
Yeah.
But everyone, I think he said today, basically got at least 40 reps.
Yeah, and Tom Osborne told him, if you can get the guys reps, get them reps.
Make sure you get the kids reps.
He also mentioned how he's been pretty impressed with the freshmen and how there's a lot of speed and how it's going to be competitive for those special teams freshman spots, kickoff, kick return, punt return, punt coverage. Some of those spots where you might have a freshman see the field, he said it's going to be a pretty competitive battle.
And, again, we're watching video right now. Again, this is video we took this morning right there. New tight ends coach, Coach Josh Martin. Again, Rhule spoke on the resignation of Bob Wager today, again, who was cited for a DUI, and he resigned his position last week. And it sounds like new tight end coach Josh Martin kind of fitting right in. Sounds like he has previous experience coaching tight ends at Division I schools, so, kind of next man up mentality.
Yeah, him being a position coach in the past has kind of given him a leg up in that case. Rhule did mention that they might look at trying to bring someone else in as the season goes along, but for where we are right now, I think Martin has a pretty good role, and is just, he's just, he was fired up with all the tight ends today out there and really in the drill. So the other thing, too, that Rhule mentioned was he was a special teams assistant coming in, right? But he wasn't a full assistant coach, so you can't be as vocal, and there is some restrictions there he has.
As an analyst,
Yes, as an analyst. But now that he's gotten that elevated title, he can kind of help out with special teams as well to an extended point where I think Rhule's happy about.
Helping out Coach Foley there with special teams. One special teams note I did see today from some of the video we saw come back, Tristan Alvano, the freshman kicker, and it looks like he was putting some pretty long field goals right in the middle.
He was drilling 50-yarders, so that definitely going to create some competition, and then also just a promising sign for some Husker fans, which even last season saw some missed field goals where you were kind of scratching your head.
Yeah, that will be an interesting competition to watch over the next several weeks to kind of
Yeah.
see where that goes. Again, returning place kicker Tommy Bleekrode,
Yep.
and new incoming freshman Tristan Alvano. Again, Tristan kind of a little bit of a cult following after the state championships, high school, and again
Yeah.
he made a bunch of field goals in Memorial Stadium. So we heard today from several players, Ty Robinson, defensive lineman Ty Robinson, linebacker Nick Heinrich. Those interviews, if you want to see those full interviews with those players, they're actually online right now on 1011now.com. Who else did we hear from today
We
player-wise?
heard from Billy Kemp the fourth.
Billy Kemp the fourth, and it was Turner Corcoran too, wasn't it?
Yes.
And if you want to see those interviews again, we'll have those up later this afternoon. In terms of Billy Kemp, one thing Matt Rhule said, he's the guy he wants him backing him up in a fight.
In a dark alley.
Yeah.
The guy that can kind of hold the zone. He mentioned, I think, Kemp's like, he's got the grittiness, he's got the edge, but also he's now got the experience where he's kind of stepping into that role to be a leader. So I think that was something that Rhule kind of liked, especially from him. And, I don't know who I say and who we got to hear from, but I think he was happy with what Kemp was doing today.
And some of the other kind of more newsworthy items that came out of today, again, especially from Rhule, again, at the very beginning of his press availability, he did touch on, the tight end coach Bob Wager, who resigned, but also Brody Tagaloa, defensive lineman, freshman, is out for the year. It sounds like he was in a car accident.
Yeah, a single car accident is what Rhule said. Cut on his face, back in California, recovering, and I believe he went under a knee surgery as well. So that's a loss for them. A promising, young defensive lineman that, had the potential, but obviously is now going to have to be sitting this year out.
Also, again, it kind of, if you've been following along on Twitter or X or whatever it's called now, there had kind of been some, rumblings about Miles Farmer, and Rhule today did confirm that Miles was suspended at the end of the summer. So he's currently not with the team, but again, he also said, the ball's in his court, in terms of returning to the team.
Yeah, it's not part of the big roster, right? And to not be one of those names included, you get some ground to make up for sure. And we saw Anthony Grant get suspended during spring ball, so I think just even if it's a big role player or a player that might barely see the field, Rhule is treating them kind of all the same, and with that same level of discipline, that same level of maturity. And I think also other players talked about he runs a tight ship, and it's not an easy practice. And because of that, you see a player get suspended. But we did see Anthony Grant come back, and so I think Rhule is valuing some of those guys, but he also is applying discipline and being a coach.
Yeah, 100%. It also sounds like Josh Fleeks, wide receiver, transfer from Baylor. Again, played for Coach Rhule, I believe, at Baylor. He was sent home. He didn't make weight. And so, again, I would imagine he could return eventually, but he's currently not with the team.
Yeah, those were the majority of the updates. Receiver Marcus Washington
broke his hand.
And had some bones, small, that were broken, and so he has a cast on his hands, and that's what we saw at Fan Day yesterday. Rhule provided an update today. He didn't really want Fan Day to be, a whole bunch of updates, but when a guy has a cast on his hand, you can see it. Believes he's going to hopefully get it off by next Monday to be able to be back in contact within the next few weeks within fall camp.
Yes, regardless, it sounds like should be ready by the time the season starts at the end of August.
Yeah.
So those were kind of the big things that we heard from Coach Rhule today. Other big thing, again, I think it's pretty cool. Again, touched on everyone's moved into the dorms.
Yeah,
now.
the dorms, the camp.
The Selleck
camping with the Cornhuskers. I think it's great too. Rhule talked about, there were some questions asked about more specifics, about 160 members of the team, and that includes coaches, players, staff, living in these dorms. And granted, it's only for about 2.5 weeks or so. But Rhule himself was talking about how he actually, he did it, to kind of have a synergy, have everyone kind of a connectivity of everyone together, but also just to make it a little bit not easy for camp, and less luxuries because they can't just leave campus.
Getting comfortable with being uncomfortable was the phrase he used today.
Yes, and he talked about how he's in an RA room and it's almost a little bit too nice.
Yes.
But we did hear Heinrich talk about how his bed's too small, his feet are hanging over.
Yeah.
So
he also, in the suites that I think a lot of these players stay at or wherever it is, they have their own bathroom.
Yep.
That's not the case anymore. So Henrich said it was a little bit of a shock when he went to go take a shower, and it's just a big sort of community bathroom.
Yeah, well,
there.
and like I think some of the floors are different than others. Rhule did mention that the 2 coaches that are over 60 years old, he said they didn't have to stay in the dorms, but he actually is not sure. They might be.
There's so many people in the dorms right now. Rhule's not sure who's where. But again, for the next 2 weeks, while they're living on the dorms, again, players are not allowed to leave campus without permission. So that will be interesting to kind of see. Again, first couple days, it's kind of fun and it's new. But what does it look like next week after a couple practices and everyone's tired and things like that? So it'll be interesting to watch.
Well, and I think it's beneficial, and it's every year every time you have a new coach, everyone's going to do things differently, and he's breaking up practice different. He's going to be practicing on Sundays this fall, and he also is putting the players in dorms for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So and a few players talked about like how they didn't really have that experience even coming in as a freshman in Nebraska. So to kind of get that, some players are like, it's cool, it's eye-opening. So I'm sure we'll hear more stories about dorm life over the next few weeks.
I'm sure there'll be some shenanigans
and the
that
camping
probably
with the Huskers.
Yes, there'll be some shenanigans that probably happen. I don't think anything else that we missed. I think that basically kind of wraps it up. There again, it's day 1, so I mean, there's not a whole lot of stuff.
Media is only allowed, I believe, 3 times over the course of the fall camp to see the players. But we'll hear from more media this week. We're going to hear from the defense tomorrow, and the defensive coordinator. We'll hear from Satterfield on Friday or on Thursday, and I believe we'll hear from some offensive players then as well, which will have more coverage right here on 1011 with those press conferences and whatnot.
Yeah. So again, all the video from today, Matt Rhule's full press conference, interviews with linebacker Nick Heinrich, defensive lineman Ty Robinson, offensive lineman Turner Corcoran, wide receiver Billy Kemp. You can find everything online, 1011now.com. You can also find it on our YouTube, again, right now, live on our YouTube. If you haven't done so, make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, or self-promotion there. But yeah, again, we'll continue to bring you more as we get it over the next several weeks. Again, it's exciting. Football season officially underway, so appreciate everyone for tuning in. Again, for Chase Madison, I'm Bill Rentschler in the 1011 Now streaming studio. We'll catch you next time, maybe tomorrow, again, with hearing from head defensive coordinator Tony White. So thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Hope everyone has a nice Monday, and we'll talk to you next time.